Welcome back to this part series about Ross and Emily and their fling, and make sure that you've watched the previous parts first so that everything makes sense because we're talking from a different angle. We're talking from the angle of Emily being a tourist and Ross being a local. The traveler fling is a whole different context from regular relationships, along with a person's personality, of course. So here is this part. Enjoy. And then there is her last day and last night in America and with Ross. So Ross made this whole plan trying to make her last day very happy and good for both of them to really enjoy a romantic time together. And then Rachel is like, fuck your plan. We're doing this for me and Joshua. We're having this fake party for me and Joshua. And then Emily actually enjoys her fake party and she talks to his friends and everything, and she sees Ross's pictures, his childhood pictures, and then Rachel asks Ross, this girl is watching your pictures, talking with your friends and sister. You don't do that if it's just a 2-week thing. My reply to Rachel, yeah, you do that. If you're a traveler, again, remember when we talked about travelers? There are no rules. You're leaving in 2 weeks, so why not? You're gonna be like, oh, I'm leaving in 2 weeks, and we said that it's a 2-week thing, so no, Monica, I don't want to see his pictures. No, you do watch the pictures. Monica offered to see the pictures. Yeah, you're gonna nod and be polite and watch the pictures. It's not that big of a deal. And then even Monica middles in the relationship when Ross comes and tells her that he just said his goodbyes with Emily, and she's like, you have to live the fantasy and blah, blah, blah. What Monica didn't know, what Ross didn't know, what a lot of people don't know is that even after flings, you feel sad. When you lose any part of you, after any loss, after any end, there is grief. Grief isn't just for someone's death. You grieve after a relationship. You grieve after a 2-week fling. You grieve when you get fired of a job or when you quit a job. You grieve at the end of a lot of things. So what he was feeling was normal. What he should have done is being home, feeling sad, and even crying about it if he wanted to, until he no longer needed to cry and moved on with his life. But what happened was Monica middling in the relationship and he going along with it. I would say this whole Emily thing happened because of Rachel and because of Monica, and of course, like, Ross is not a puppet, right? He made his own decisions and he agreed, of course. So moving on, long story short, Emily goes back to the US and she leaves Colin and she's totally with Ross. She goes back and forth, and every time she leaves, Ross is sad and he wants her to move in with him. And she's like, well, you move in here, but he's like, my son is here. I can't leave my son. And she's like, well, I mean, moving in the US would be something far in the future. It's like, if we ever decide to get married. So he's like, light bulb moment, and he proposes, which is ridiculous. Honey, you can't even decide which one should move where, and now you want to get married? But no judgment. Why? Because that is what happens in narcissistic relationships. You move too fast. It's very intense. And that is something very common and normal in narcissistic relationships. You don't get time to think. Remember what I said earlier? You don't get time to process. And they're not saying anything wrong. They're saying something maybe different, not normal, getting married after a few weeks. But Ross asks her, yeah, Ross actually says, like, it's not normal, but does that mean that we don't get to do it? And he's got a point, but the point is kind of wrong, especially when it comes to marriage, And again, I'm not judging at all. Tons of people done that. I actually have done that. Moving on. So if you have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a spouse, Or even if you don't, just imagine this. You're declaring your love, and let's say there is no one around you, just you and your partner in your private room, in your private home, just you and them, nobody else. And this is the moment that you're declaring your love, you're saying your vows, and you're promising to be their partner forever. And they say someone else's name. At the moment that you're locking eyes, they say someone else's name. Why? Why is that person's name on your mind? Let's say you're sleeping together. You're in the middle of making love and they say someone else's name instead of screaming your name. Does that mean that they're committed to you? They're fantasizing about someone else. They have someone else on their mind. If that's not cheating, I don't know what is. Because cheating isn't just having sex with somebody else. Cheating is breaking the commitment. And I want you to imagine this. I don't know if you're familiar with Charlotte Dobre, but she has this YouTube channel and subreddit, and she makes videos reading those posts on her subreddit or other subreddits like Am I the A-hole, Bridezellas, and all of that stuff. I want you to imagine this Ross and Emily story as a subreddit that Charlotte Dobre is reading. Am I the a-hole for asking my husband to stop talking to his ex after he said her name instead of mine on the altar? Come on. So Emily, of course, is in shock. She wants to leave. She wants to bury her face in the sand, and she leaves. She wants to take her time to process, accept what happened, whatever her mental state was. She was definitely fucked up, right? So she wants to take her space, but what happens? Ross does not take no for an answer. What do you mean you want to take your space? You must talk with me right now. He blasts her phone, her family's phone, her cousin or her uncle, I don't remember, but he is invading someone else's privacy. It's not just about Emily now. He's invading her family's privacy so she can talk with him. He doesn't want to give her a chance to come up with her own decision. So of course he hovers her and he's over apologetic. And that's the thing about narcissistic people. Like, did you know that it takes an average of 7 times to leave a narcissist? And that's not because the other partner is dumb or anything. No, it's because the narcissists are over apologetic and they make tons of promises and they cry and they're like, give me a chance and don't give up on us, and they kind of shame you for leaving. And that's what actually Ross did when he slept with the other lady when he was with Rachel, and she was of course shocked and like didn't trust him, but he was shaming her for wanting to leave, and he was like, you want to give up on us and for one mistake. However, we do see some progress from Ross this time. This time he does take accountability. He's not trying to say, like with Rachel, he was like, we were on a break and all of that shit, right? With Emily, he acknowledged that he did something not very good, and he's doing everything. He's moving, he's selling everything that Rachel touched, and he's doing whatever he can, right? And eventually when he asks her, like, this marriage is not gonna work if you don't trust me, can you trust me? And she says no, and he takes that. He takes it. He doesn't beg, he doesn't, even though he did. But eventually, he does take no for an answer. Eventually. And why did all of this happen, Emily and Ross? Because they took a traveler's fling too seriously. If you want to take a traveler's fling seriously, if you want to take it to the next step, you should take it slower than how you would normally do your regular relationships. You're going to have a long distance relationship. And texting with somebody is completely different from actually staying with them, living with them, seeing how they act and react in their day-to-day life. Even having video calls is different from living with somebody. And meeting somebody like at least once every week is different from meeting them for a week every couple months, or meeting them for a month every 4 months. It's different. Context, context, context. If you're a traveler or you're planning to travel, if you want to have a fling, have fun. If you want to take your fling to the other side to extend and actually see what's up, say that, okay, we had a good time. Let's see if it's gonna be the same if we take it seriously, if we actually date. So, hope you liked the video. What are your views on Ross and Emily? Let me know in the comments, and feel free to like, subscribe, and so on and so forth.